All right, we are back for the what is this event called? The Cognizant Classic in the Palm Beaches. Matt Gannon, great to have you back. Jers, this is your hometown event, your new hometown event, I guess. I don't think you have always lived there, but you hit a winner here last year. You're fresh off a Sammy Valimaki runner-up finish at the Mexico Open. You've got to be feeling good coming into this week.
As good as $0 can have you feeling, because that second place pays the same as last place. But overall, I think it was a good call. I think we both had some good eyes on Sammy Valimaki heading into the week. I pulled the trigger. You did not. But it was definitely a sweat. Was live for the majority of the event. Just fell a tad short. Props to Knapp pulling it out when he clearly did not have his game. So very truly an impressive win. And after all the shit we kind of talked on the Saturday and Sunday, because got very lucky, but he did what he had to do to win that event.
Yeah, and we'll talk the Napster and the Mexico Open here momentarily, because I think it ended up being an intriguing event from more maybe than I expected. But you're going to have boots on the ground this week, I do believe, at the Cognizant Classic. We're just going to call it the Cognizant for the rest of this podcast, because the Cognizant Classic in the Palm Beach is a little long for my liking. But what days are you going to have boots on the ground? I'm sure you're going to have some content, boots on the ground. What's that looking like this week?
Yeah, so I'll be there tomorrow through Thursday for sure. Just because, as we know, the practice rounds are where all the action happens. You get eyes on guys. You hit Wyndham at the U.S. Open. You saw him swinging. So hopefully, I can find someone on the range that's swinging nice that I can get some eyes on and give you guys the winner. But so I'll be there Wednesday or Tuesday through Thursday, and then 1 or 2 days after that. I think I'm not really sure about the weekend yet.
Yeah, and I'll my boots on the ground tips. Like I said, I usually go to the major boots on the ground practice rounds. It's trust your gut. If you see a guy who's striping it, a guy who looks good, ride him. If a guy's looking bad, he looks bad. I think people will say that you can't tell from practice rounds how guys are going to play. I would disagree. It's most of the experience that I've you end up with a group of people who all look pretty good. Then it becomes kind of tough to narrow down amongst them. But if a guy, in my opinion, can't hit the greens, can't hit the fairways during a practice round, I don't think too often that leads to them hitting the fairways and the greens in the tournament. Now, of course, they can from time to time, so we'll be on the lookout. I'll be in the group chat. I'm sure you'll post in the Discord some things you're seeing boots on the ground. I do, before we dive into it, as we get deeper into the podcast game, I realize you got to say stuff like this. Like and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple. The podcast is up there everywhere. We've gotten some nice positive responses to the pod so far, which is really exciting. And then golf.vincerix.com. Good traffic there. We've got the model now and the form and the course and the odds. And then obviously on vincerix.com for the subscribers. We've got articles and things like that. And overall, pretty good week last week. Despite not having Jake Knapp, I had 9 men on the card. All 9 make it through the cut, which gave me a lot of balls in the hopper going into the weekend. EVR with a great start and then not a great finish. Jaeger, I think, ended up being the highest finisher for me, but some people in the Discord cashing some nice DFS winners, pulling together those players. And then if you, of course, were on Sammy Valimaki, so give me what Sunday, maybe even Saturday and Sunday, what did it feel like? What did it look like? What was going through your mind as you sweated Sammy Valimaki in the final 2 rounds?
Yeah, I wasn't really upset about Saturday. Like, sometimes you just get beat, and Jake Knapp went out and balls to the wall. What did he shoot? 7 or 8 under on Saturday?
8 under, I think.
Made 11 birdies, something like that. So, look, Saturday was fine. We got beat heading into the weekend with Sunday with a 4-shot lead. You and I both thought it was going to be a fight on Sunday. We both talked in our chat. It was like, this is not over. Like, it's going to be a fight. First time 54-hole lead. He's never won a Korn Ferry Tour event before, just a few Canada events. So this is a new pressure for Jake Knapp, and he felt it immediately on the first few holes. I saw those things in the swing. I talked about it in the group chat. We joke about it. But as soon as I said it again, they brought it up on the broadcast. His swing looks very guided. And yes, it was, but he did what he had to do to right the ship and hit fairways down the stretch. So very impressive, truly a very impressive gutsy finish from Jake Knapp. He scrambled his ass off, but the sweat from Sammy was he didn't quit. He could have laid down and he did not quit. Missed a few putts probably when he needed them, but you cannot be upset with the fight that Sammy put up, and just an overall. It's hard to believe that this is probably one of the better finishes we had, even though it was only 2 guys. Genesis was cool, but I felt a different type of sweat, and maybe it was just I had a guy in contention, but I thought it was good television and a good sweat.
Yeah, and I think that was the thing for me with Knapp coming into the tournament and over the last few rounds. Obviously, I think you were a full fade on Knapp.
No chance. No chance.
I was kind of middle of the road. I thought the price was too low for a guy who's never won on the PGA Tour or really won on the Corn Ferry. But statistically, I think it made sense coming in. So I was kind of wait and see mode on him. Unfortunately, that waiting and seeing meant that I probably will never be able to cash a winner on him at any good price in the future. But his swing, and this is what we talked about last week, it is absolutely beautiful aesthetically. But at the same time, there's a reason a lot of guys on the PGA Tour don't swing the way that Jake Knapp swings with that much going on, because it doesn't take much for that motion to get out of sorts, for things to start going haywire, which for me was going to be super interesting going into the weekend, because the first 2 rounds he put up some astronomical ball striking numbers, which was insane. And so then going to the weekend, it's like, okay, can he handle this under the gun? He comes out there in the 3rd round and absolutely does handle it under the gun. The ball striking is great. The short game, though, around the green play on Saturday is not good, but the putting is great. And then final round, early, we see what happens when that swing gets out of sync. If you're wondering why Jake Knapp is 29 years old and we're just now hearing about him, I'm going to go out on a limb here. I don't know a ton about him, and I'm going to say when you swing it like that, it takes something to have that queued up and lined up consistently. He clearly figured something out within the last year to year and a half that's allowed him to do that. But we saw what can go wrong with swing like that. But then, because he had built such a big lead over the chasing pack, that was ultimately, I think, what won it for him yesterday, is that he had a 7-shot lead.
He deserves it.
Yeah.
He deserves it.
Yeah. He had a 7-shot lead over 3rd place, I believe, going into the final round. And then it's obviously there wasn't 10 under rounds, out there on the course. There was 5-6 under rounds. So then it becomes him against Sammy. And it's almost like as soon as Sammy tied him up and then started to struggle a little bit, he almost got boosted confidence from that, because he's like, fuck, I blew the tournament, but now I've been given a second chance. And he looked so much more confident on those last 5-6 holes.
Yeah, and as soon as Sammy hit that drive on number 7 to like 6 feet for eagle, that up and down by Jake Knapp was absurd. He was short-sided on a downhill slope, and he hit a beautiful, I don't think it was a bunker shot. It might have been bunker shot to basically kick in. And that right there, I was like, shit, we might have like a 2-shot swing here, a 2 and a 4. But instead, Knapp made birdie, Sammy made eagle, and we were tied. And I was like, we needed to get that leg up. And then it was never really Sammy never really felt in control after that. I made a few mistakes, but I just got to give a shout out to Jake Knapp's scrambling on the back 9. He had the exact same chip on like 8 consecutive holes on the back 9. That like 15 to 30 yard little spinner that he put to within 6 feet every single time. So those aren't easy shots under pressure. Those aren't easy shots under like super tight bare lies. And he did what he had to do to win. So I did say Jake Knapp had no chance heading into the week. Hand up, I will always admit to be wrong, and I was wrong. But you gotta go on a limb and give takes. So
yeah, and that will always be true about this pod. We're gonna say guys are gonna win. We're gonna say guys aren't gonna win. We're not gonna come on here and say, oh yeah, we like everybody. They have all got a chance, because that's not entertaining. And then people can listen and think during the week, damn, they were so wrong about this, and it gives So that's fine. But I think that point you made is what I'm most impressed about Knapp going forward is not actually that he has this beautiful swing and that he can pop on approach and he's got all this distance. He has the ability to scramble and make putts. He came into the tournament having back-to-back positive putting efforts at Torrey and at Waste, so different type of grasses. He was able to putt there. He looked good with the putter inside 10 feet. Well, Saturday was really the only day where he made long putts, but he was so comfortable on those short putts. It's pretty much the second he hit it with the putter, he was already walking after it to grab it out of the hole in those 5 to 10 footers. In the short game, I thought was a problem because on Wednesday or on Saturday, he wasn't getting anything up and down. And then Sunday, he literally had to get everything up and down to win. So with that, I know you were a fade on him. Now he wins. What is your feeling about him going forward the rest of the year? Do you think he's going to be in the mix more often? Do you think this is a flash in the pan against a weak field? What's the Jake Knapp hypothesis for the rest of the year?
I mean, great golfer. I still don't see him doing it on – I see him on Sahith Theegala golf courses. I see him on Cam Davis golf courses. He might miss the cut this week at PGA National. He hits 2 of those wild drives he hit the other week. He's missing the cut. He's making a double or a triple. So he's fine. He has his course fits. Mexico is clearly a course where you can drive it anywhere. You drive it anywhere on any other golf course. You're making a minimum of bogey. And he had some of the worst drives I've ever seen and made some incredible bogeys that you could not have made anywhere else besides Mexico. So Yeah, fine. He'll have his spots, but I don't see it as like a every week type guy.
Yep, I agree. I think on those courses with long irons and where distance can be an advantage, because that's the thing. Like, he gains a shit ton on approach, but part of that is when you're hitting eight iron versus when somebody's hitting 5 iron. Yes, a lot of that is built into the off the tee numbers, but it's also a lot easier to stuff one to 2 feet from closer than it is everybody else hitting to 30 feet. So you actually can gain more on approach being closer to the hole, even though some of that is baked into off the tee, which we saw there. So, and then going down the board. What's he's playing this week? I think he's somebody who's always on people's minds as a potential bet. I pulled the trigger on him last week. I think T3 ties his best finish on the PGA Tour. What is Steven Jaeger? I think Steven Jaeger might just be a guy when the scoring conditions are between -10 to -15. It's Jaeger bomb seasons, because I was tracking him obviously all week. I had him. He just ends up somehow shooting 3-4 under every single round, but he never ever. It's always quiet. It's always under the radar. As somebody who wasn't on Jaeger, do you have any thoughts about him and what he did last week?
Yeah, I think we talked about him last week. I said he was a great DFS play because he's never out of it. He can shoot the first round lead and then kind of give some back, but still be there. Or he could just go slow, and then just pop at the end and finish that backdoor T10, T5. So I like Jaeger. I play him like every single week in DFS because he's just a consistent golfer. We've only seen him in the mix a few times, and it hasn't been great. He was okay at Torrey, but he's still getting his feet. He's old. I don't know how old he is exactly, maybe like 33, but he's not like a new guy, so he should be more comfortable.
34 years and 9 months old for Stevie Yeggs. Won a ton of times on the Corn Ferry, but yeah, he's made like 25 some cuts in a row, or some insane number of cuts in a row, and he's finally, like, he had all those made cuts in a row, but none of them were like top 10 finishes. Now he's got top 3 in 2 of his last 3 starts. He's clearly moving in the right direction. He's doing good stuff. So I think we got to keep our eyes on Jaeger going.
He's a B tier Xander, literally. He's a B tier Xander.
That's as he was like charging up the leaderboard yesterday. I was like, we got ourselves
like good at everything. Like, he has no overwhelming, amazing stats. I know he hits it far, but he's just solid all around. That's our take. He is a B tier Xander.
And then just going down the board a bit, Bobby Mack. We talked about Bobby Mack last week. I had a feeling Bobby Mack was going to be back. Switched over to the past column. Apparently, they were talking about in the broadcast. Brad Faxon, Rory told Bobby Mack, "You need to get with Brad Faxon." He didn't putt amazing. He barely gained, but still, the ball striking
better than what he was doing.
Yeah, the ball striking for Bobby Mack is there. EVR, he popped early. This is there's no stats to back this up. This is an eyeball. I think he left every single putt short the entire week. I don't think he got a single putt to the hole. So if on the odd chance EVR is playing, we love you, but please get the ball to the hole next time that I've got you and you are in the mix, because it was frustrating to watch. And then our guy BSB Novak, back-to-back top 10 finishes for your man Andrew Novak. He was able to get away from the football podcasts and put together another strong performance. Are there gonna be eyes on BSB Novak tomorrow when you've got boots on the ground?
Oh, for sure. He's a great guy, and he's definitely playing some great golf. So you got to ride it while you can, because it doesn't come very often, at least in his early career. So Novak told me he does not love PGA National, but no one likes PGA National. No one likes. I've not heard one good golfer say one good thing about PGA National. It's part of the reason that no one plays. But truthfully, he tells me he's not really excited to play at PGA National because it's such a mental grind for 72 holes, whether you're in the mix or not, because you could be clear T10, 2 swings, you're missing the cut. So it's just a grind, but he's playing good golf. So gotta give that to him.
One more thing from Mexico. And this isn't just from Mexico. This is the season to this point. And I think it's something now that is more than a trend, because we had Valimaki second, Bobby Mack T6. Obviously, Pavone's been great. There's been a variety of guys from the DP. If you had told me when I found out that the DP players were going to be graduating to the PGA Tour, that they were going to come out and be in the mix almost every single tournament, especially in these weaker field events, I wouldn't have believed you. I would have said, no way, the DP World Tour players are not good golfers. I would have been wrong, because clearly there's not much difference between a DP World Tour event and these lower level PGA Tour events. What are your thoughts on what's taking place here? Because I'll put my hand up and I'll say I am shocked by how every single week we're getting guys on the DP who almost didn't even mix that often on the DP. Like Valimaki is a guy who would pop up from time to time. Pavone never did anything on the DP until like very recently. Are Are you surprised? Like, what's your thoughts on this?
Yeah. How could we not be? Because me and you have bet nearly like every single DP World Tour event over the last 2 years, and we track every single DP World Tour event. Every single week, we see golfers play awesome for 3 days and just completely obliterate themselves, have literally zero guts. So I think it's got to just be. I mean, we're not wrong for having those takes. Like, it's what we've seen for 2 straight years. Now they're coming out, showing guts and looking like great golfers. But the thing is, like, maybe they're like Valimaki said, he's under the radar, and maybe they're just having that feeling where we're underdogs. We're just playing free. That's the only way I could think of, like, the case that they're playing so well. So not really sure what it is exactly, but very surprised by how they started out in 2024.
Yeah, and I think Valimaki had an interesting quote after the round yesterday, just talking about how on the DP World Tour, they're going to different countries. They're seeing different grass types, different style of golf courses. I think is a big thing on the DP World Tour. You can go 1 week. Oh, yeah. They're playing it like this week, South Africa. They're going to play like a pseudo links course. Last week in Kenya was this positional, super tight, like super short course. Like, so many different types of golf courses, I think, on the DP World Tour versus on the PGA Tour. For the most part, obviously the courses are different, the grass are different. You kind of have the same theme of the skill set that you need to be good on almost every single PGA Tour course. If you hit it long, you're good with your irons, you're going to play good in most PGA Tour events. Versus on the DP, there's some weeks where it only comes down to like around the green play, or it only comes down to whatever. So we'll see if it continues here this week at the Cognizant Classic. This is your home event, as we said. You're familiar with the course. You hit a winner here last year, Mr. Chris Kirk, a great bet at 30-1. Give me Matt Gainon's hometown takes on what is required to succeed in the Palm Beaches here at PGA National.
Yeah, definitely a great event we have on our hands this week. We have a much better field than we usually have to do, but it just kind of come down to overall guts, play in the fairway, hit the green, avoid bogey, roll a few putts when you need to. I'm gonna guess around 17 under, 16 under wins. Wow. We have an extra par 5 on number 10. So, but it is playing. What was the final score last year? I don't remember. Actually, I have it.
It was 14 under last year, and I think it's something I wrote up on in the course preview on Vincerix, where there's also Matt's player write-ups, which I think are hilarious this week and also super insightful. So it's not just boring stats-based nerd talk. Jers spices it up with some takes. Yeah, I think if you're looking for those, check those out. But this tournament, I was looking back to 2015. There's been a steady progression to this being more of a putting contest than it used to be historically. This used to be tee to green. You only needed to gain a tiny bit with the putter, all ball striking, all tee to green. It's gotten easier. The scoring hasn't necessarily reflected that. Like -14 last year was some of the best scoring in a long time, but the GIR rate's increasing and the need to gain with the putter is increasing. And then this year we see they've widened the fairways a little bit, an acre worth of grass added to the fairways across the course, back to what the course looked like in 2012, 2013. There's been rain throughout the fall, the write-up that the tour does about the course conditions, talked about the course being wetter, the rough not being as lush. So I think we're going to get pretty good scoring conditions this week. And I was interested to see that it has shifted a little bit more to a putting contest than maybe it was before.
Yeah, I do think it will play a little bit firmer than we're thinking because we haven't gotten rain in a while. But over the last, I guess, few months, it's rained more than normal. There's an El Nino, if you were wondering about the weather. Yeah. So, but I do think we will see lower than normal just based off we're getting a par 5 instead of a par 4 number 10. They only moved the tee box 20 yards. So it's literally going to be damn near the exact same hole. And not that it was an overly hard par 5. It played like a fifth of a stroke over par last year. So it's going to be a birdie hole for the most part. So par 71 instead of par 70, just by default, add a stroke or two to the final score.
And I think this is an interesting way to kick it off. You hit Chris Kirk here last year. I think he was a medium popular pick among the Twitter sphere. When you picked Chris Kirk last year, what went through your head when you saw him? Like, what led you to pick Chris Kirk last year?
Yeah, he was coming off of a great fall. He had a T3 at Amex. He had another solid start, and his just irons and driving accuracy was clicking, and that's kind of what I was looking for for this week. And he has great course history at PGA National, a noted Florida swing guy, Chris Kirk. So yeah, it wasn't a very in-depth pick. I think everyone that saw Chris Kirk winning and looking at his stat profile was like, yeah, that made a ton of sense. So it wasn't one of my flashier winners of my career, but it was a pretty straightforward. Good ball striking form, good course history, 35-1. Let's do it.
It's that simple sometimes. And I think what's interesting is the driving accuracy versus driving distance here, because like the correlations, when we look at the shot link correlations on Matseriks, distance is actually pretty high here versus the average course, which I think is interesting because it's not like a driver heavy course. And then we've also, like, Straka's not a bomber, but he does have plus distance. He's also an accurate driver. So that's like the win-win scenario. Yeah. Obviously, this guy hits it long and straight. But like Matt Jones is not an accurate driver. He's a distance guy. That year that he won, Brandon Heggie was second place. He was one of the like biggest bombers that you're ever going to see. We've had Keith Mitchell win this tournament, who's obviously a bomber. But I think, and Brooks was second here. We've had Luke List as a second, like a runner-up or third place.
Rory McIlroy.
Like, it's an interesting one in the driving distance, driving accuracy conversation, because ultimately guys aren't going to be hitting driver that much. A long hitter, that means that they may, instead of having to hit their 3-wood, they're hitting 3-iron or 4-iron or whatever it is. They can find the fairways at a little bit higher of a rate. So that's one for me that, like, I'm going to have to think about it a little bit more. But I think it's one of the tougher tournaments to judge the off the tee play, just because you get that less than driver. But
you can gain both ways, yeah.
Yeah. But I think what like jumps out the most, and maybe a way to think about it without having to think about the pure stats, is pretty much back to 2018, at least, like the last 6 winners have all played well at Sony the year that they won at Honda. And I think a big reason for that is we don't get a lot of Bermuda events. Obviously, early in the year, we play in Hawaii, and then they go play West Coast, and you get guys like Straka, who this year has lost putting in all 3 starts he played on the West Coast, but now he's coming back to Bermuda. It's almost like you can throw away those events because they get back on the grass that they like. There's a big overlap with success at Sony and then coming on to win this tournament. I think it's because that's pretty much the last time we see Bermuda. The approach profiles are similar, and why a lie, always one of the toughest places to spell when doing course write-ups. So I was annoyed this week when I realized I was gonna have to write why a lie a few times, but it's also another course where you can gain with both distance and accuracy. So I think there's a lot to like with the Sony overlap. And we talked about Torrey being an overlap last week. Obviously Jake Knapp third at Torrey, then he wins at Mexico. So it may be as simple as go look at the top 20, top 30 on the leaderboard at Sony, find a guy who maybe played one good event on the West Coast, and there you go.
Yeah, that Torrey crossover, truly, we talked about it. You brought it to my eyes, and then it came right to fruition. I was wrongly on the wrong Torrey guys who played well. But yeah, Jaeger and Knapp, they both finished T3 at both courses. So pretty straightforward and a great correlation that you found.
And I'm almost getting to the point where we both love making models more than, we like to get in there and crunch the numbers. But there's some value, I think, in just some of the basic like overlaps, like those things, like where it's like you can spend all the time in the numbers, or you could just go and say like this course is like this course. This guy just played well. Like I'm going to bet this guy. And I'm trying to, because that's what we do. We do on Live. There's no stats for Live. You just kind of have the vibes and like what you know about the course that they played. So going forward, the rest of this year, I'm trusting the numbers, but I'm also trying to keep it simple. So that's my goal for this event. And here in the Cognizant Classic, he's playing for the first time. When was the last time Rory played this event?
That's like 16, 14.
Well, he played in 2018. He's got a crazy course history here.
Yeah, unreal course history.
He's got a win and a T2. He's also got 2 cuts and a T59. As I said, though, they did widen the fairways. The last time the fairways were this wide was 2012 when Rory won the tournament. So it's very possible that the PGA Tour told Rory, hey, we need you to play the Cognizant Classic. We also will rig the course for you. Are you worried at all that this tournament may be pre-rigged for Rory's to win this week?
Well, Rory usually does well coming back to courses he won at, like in the past when he took some time off. So a little nervous. I don't think we're going to get a runaway. He's not hitting the ball tremendously. 2 straight weeks he's lost on approach, but it's literally not a concern. He could turn it on at any point. Had that week off to come back home. He's playing a home game, something Rory and I both have in common this week. So yeah, I think he'll be fine. I think he can get off to a hot start. I don't know how you could stomach the 8-1 based on the recent form and the trouble this course can present. But yeah, I think I have no real hard or strong feelings about Rory.
Yeah, he's obviously going to gain off the tee. You look at his course history here, he's gained a ton off the tee every single year, and then you add in that this year it does appear that distance and some wider fairways may play a little bit into the hands of what he obviously does best. His approach play here has never been very good. His around the green game has been fine. His putting has been hit and miss. I would agree with you that the single bullet on Rory is probably not in the cards for me. Now, if he does, and if he wins, it's rigged. So then you just say like, the tournament was rigged. It doesn't count. So I'll pass on Rory this week, but I think, is he more likely to finish top 10 or miss the cut?
Top 10.
Okay. He, for the record here, he has 2 top 10s and 2 missed cuts. So it's been interesting, a little 50-50 chance. He hasn't missed a cut since the Masters, when I believe you were on him there
heavily
at Augusta. So he's playing well. It was the big number that cost him both at Pebble and Genesis. I think we talked about this with Rory before. If you like Rory this week, just bet him first round leader, because when he plays well, he gets off to a good start, and he kind of and then it's off to the races. So if you do want some Rory exposure, or if you're afraid of Rory this week, you think he's going to win the tournament, but you don't want to have him be the only man on your outright card, sling him first round leader.
Yeah, I'm definitely on that. I definitely hit 2 Rory first round leaders in the last year and a half, so I'm down for that this week, because I kind of been here and there playing my DFS pool first round leaders, and I think he will be in that pool, and he will be on the first round leader card.
And there's like the matches tonight, right? Rory's warming up in the match.
Yeah,
what's the
down literally 5 minutes away. You can't go, sadly, because it's for Capital One card holders only. And like you have to be like very exclusive in that. So I would love to go. It's literally down the street. It's Rory, Max, Lexi, and Roseanne. Kind of vibey, honestly. So they're
playing. It's like a skins match or something, right? Or like it's not, is it teams, or is it everybody for themselves?
No, it's everyone for themselves. So there obviously be some sort of handicap in that, but it's a sweet course. It's the closest thing you'll get to Seminole. That's not Seminole.
If anybody needs a handicap right now, it might be Max. He might be the one who actually needs the handicap. You should have told me. I wish I would have known that was the case, because my girlfriend is a product manager at Capital One. I could have got you into the Capital One match. Maybe I still could. I'll text you. But
I will literally go.
Yeah, I had no idea that was the case, but I can almost assure you that I can get that up there. I wish I would have known, because then I would have come down. We would have gone to the match. We would have gone to boots on the ground at PGA National. But we live and we learn, and we'll get that next time. So we got Rory up top, and then it's a pretty big drop off after that, just from the quality of players. We get into the 20s, and a man who, I'm not going to say he has no chance to win, because statistically, I see how he could have a chance to win. This is a man, though, who I've talked about a couple pods ago, is not a winner by any stretch of the imagination. He is not going to drop down in class into one of these weaker field events and win. He has proven that is not what he does. He's proven that he actually tends to play better in the bigger tournaments. You did say, though, earlier last week that you had your eyes on CY. I know he's your guy. I know you would love to have a winner on him at your home event. As of today, Monday, the 26th, how are you feeling about CY?
Yeah, I just see the path of him shooting 3 under for 4 straight days, and I don't know if that's going to do it, but he is striping the ball off the tee. He is going to be on second base. Like you said, the distance will be key here. He's been long and accurate. The iron play has been solid too. I just, like you said, he's not a winner. He doesn't have those guts on Sunday. I think he's I don't think he'll be popular at all. A great contrarian play in DFS. He could definitely finish inside the top 10 and possibly get himself in the mix. I was thinking we were going to get a 30 or a high 20s on him. He's like near 20-1. I don't know if I could pull that trigger on a guy who's legitimately never won. And this is a golf course where one bad swing can kill you. We're going to have to make decisions. He's definitely still under consideration, but I do like his path to success here.
Yeah, I like I said, it's never going to be Cam Young for me in these type of events, and I think it's just like you see a guy like Jake Knapp who goes and plays a course that fits his profile. He hadn't won shit in his career, and he shows up and wins. Like Cam Young went last year and played all of those lower level events to try to pick up a win. He hasn't done it. I think he'll be in the mix. I think I almost would lock him in for a top 20, but I also would lock him in for having no chance to win. So I'm placing him in that category where he's on the leaderboard, he's in the mix, and there's just never a moment at all where I think he's going to win. But he'll be fun to watch in person. Boots on the ground, always a good guy to watch us slash the driver out there and hit the big draw. But he falls into the bucket with Russ Henley, another one of your guys. Matty Fitz, he was like in the 30s, almost 40-1, I think, earlier this morning.
He got cut.
Yeah, he's in the high 20s, which is a spot that he should never. I don't care if he's what the tournament is or where it is. Like, Fitz can win. He should never be in the 40-1 against a field like this, or 30-1. But among Russ, Matty Fitz, Ben On, those are all the guys who are sub 30 right now with Cameron Young. Of those 4 guys, you can only have one. Who finishes the highest of those 4?
I'm gonna have to go with my guy Russ. Like he's a truther to me. He's a place in my heart. And the path for Russ is very simple. You play Russ on Russ courses, and this is definitely one of the Russ courses. Drive the ball straight, hit your middle irons, and gain strokes on Bermuda, which he does well. I'm nervous he's going to be a bit chalky, but he does have a win here in his career. Does have great results here in his career. A little bit of a mixed bag too, but I like Russ to continue to play well on Russ courses.
Yeah, and a note on the chalkiness. You have historically had a take that you don't bet people that are on the most tipped charts. Always a nice thing to see on Twitter who those most tipped are. Shout out to at Golf Tips Checker who puts that together. But we now also have on Golf Top and Sarix the movement of the odds as well during the week. Since we've launched that in the last 2 weeks, both winners from where they opened in the open that we post, like 9 a.m. Eastern time, whatever, drifted. Both of them. Hideki was a 10% drift. Jake Knapp, a 7% drift last week. So you're gaining steam. You're gaining steam in your fading of the tips board this year. Like I think we would give you some shit about that, but it's you're looking accurate now.
Yeah, I mean, one thing about me is if I'm gonna say something, I'm going to dive into it and not go back. So I'll look stupid in a week, but I'm just going to live and die on whatever hill I'm on. So that's my tip. Fade the chart. Most tipped can win once a year at max, and that's it. So if you're new to getting into golf betting, don't bet the chalk, and especially not at PGA National. Chalk dies at PGA National at 8 a.m. on Thursday morning. So just be prepared to tilt this week because this is one of the more tiltier tracks you can imagine. Well, a very tough DFS week. 6-6 rate will be very low. Just a super fun but super tilting week.
And that's why a guy like Russ Henley, who has made the cut in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of 9 starts, just speaks to the course fit because you don't like even now. I saw a tweet that said course history doesn't matter here. That is false. Pretty much every guy back the first time winner was like 2008 Ernie Els way back in the day. Like this is a course where even if you've played poorly, you need some experience. You need to get used to the course. But even the good players who have good course history, it's kind of like that Rory one we just talked about where it kind of goes back and forth like T2 and also then they get cut and back and forth. Russ, 8 of 9 made cuts here. If there's a guy that you can trust this week, I'd have a hard time pointing to somebody to trust more than Russ, especially coming off that T4 at Sony, before that T13 at the RSM, T2 at Wyndham, T6 at FedEx. All the courses you'd expect Russ to play well on, he has been playing well. And then a T24 at Riv, which I don't think is a great course fit for him. He doesn't have the distance, and he finishes T24 there. So he's going to be popular. He's going to be on the chart. I'm starting to fade the chart too, so I don't know if he's going to make the card, but I like him this week. And the other guy who's going to be super popular, who makes a ton of sense, probably makes the most sense when you combine his distance, his course history here, is Ben On. Yeah. I assume you just know he's going to be popular and you're going to be out on Ben On this week. That's my guess.
He's definitely like in my initial thoughts, but I feel like he is going to be popular. I'm seeing a ton of them, but it's hard to argue with what he's doing. Like he's coming off one of a great ball striking performance at Genesis in a loaded field. Very impressive and has amazing course history. He hasn't gained less than 3 strokes ball striking in his career at this event. So, and he's putted well on Bermuda, on at least this PGA National Bermuda, because his gigaboo is the putter. He doesn't putt great here and there, but he's proven to putt well here. So, and he's arguably in the best form of his career. I think you could say that with the way the golf world is now. So I think Ben On makes a ton of sense. We're going to have to see how chalky he is, but the number is tough on a guy who's not like a prolific winner.
Yeah. So going into this week, I thought Ben On was going to be a play for me. And then I woke up this morning. I was on Twitter and I saw he tweeted, somebody tweeted, it's Ben On week. He quote tweeted it with a GIF of not looking confident. Like yeah. The Michael Scott, like, concerned. I know he's joking. I know he's fucking around. But when you're already a loser on the PGA Tour, who's never won anything, and you also just missed a 4-foot putt to win effectively the Sony, which there's another positive, the Sony like overlap here. He's going to play well. I'd be shocked if he doesn't play well. But at 28, 35-1, whatever it is that you get on him, I can't, with my heart, back a guy who literally tweeted. If he had tweeted like I'm winning this week, I'm in 100%. I might single bullet the whole thing.
Tip,
like yeah, like I don't care.
I'm down.
But we can't be tweeting stuff like that before the tournament. So unfortunately, due to that, I will be out. And if I lose that, I can sleep totally fine.
It's little things that you have to make with yourself to get on or off, guys. Like there's gonna be cross-offs. That's one of them. Like it probably will change nothing. If Ben did not tweet this, we would be so high. And I'm like, yeah, Ben makes a ton of sense. But no, you got to follow him on Twitter.
Yeah, no, that's a no for me, especially after we talked about him and Twitter a couple weeks ago. And then at Waste, he was tweeting shit, played terrible. Like he needs to get off Twitter. If Ben stops tweeting, I think he picks up his first win on the PGA Tour. But right now, too much time on Twitter, not enough time thinking about how he can close the door better. We move into this next tier of guys, and there are some. First of all, the flags of a variety of different countries here that fall into the next tier. And we have seen Honda is a place where we get some international winners. Sepp Straka, of course, from Austria, a winner here. Matt Jones, Australia. 3 of the last 4 winners we've gone international here. We've had Scott win, Padraig Harrington. So I think I literally just made this up as we were talking, but I think there could be a winner in this next tier of international players. I'm going to list off some international players, and you give me the least likely to win and the most likely to win out of this bunch. Tom Kim, he's 30-1. The course fit makes sense. Of course, a winner at Wyndham. Shane Lowry absolutely fucks in Florida for some reason. Minwoo Lee. We'll talk about the Minwoo Lee flowchart, I'm sure. Corey Connors, Sung Jae, or Steven Yeager. Which of those international guys do you think could continue the trend of international success at PGA National?
So Sepp's not in that category?
Yeah, you can have Sepp. If you're actually, I'll give you Sepp and Pavone and Rasmus. You can have all of those guys to choose from.
No matter what we're saying today, this is all in the without Pavone market because he's probably winning. So with that being said, who was the name? Corey Connors, Lowry, and you said one more after that?
Tom Kim, Shane Lowry, Minwoo, Corey Connors, Sung Jae, Yag, Straka, Pavone, and Rasmus.
I would probably go Yeager or Lowry, most likely to win. Least likely to win out of that group, Minwoo flowchart or Rasmus.
Yeah, Rasmus, absolutely no shot. If Rasmus wins this tournament, I might be done with golf betting because he Rasmus's game is send it for. He should have played Mexico. I'm sure there's a reason he wasn't allowed to play Mexico, but Mexico is where Rasmus would have been great because he can just send it from the tee and then make infinity putts. He'll putt well here. He can get hot with the putter and have a solid finish, but he's going to miss way too many fairways. He's going to be, if he goes the whole week without hitting it in the water, I'll be shocked. If anybody out there is at a sports book could put together a prop of does Rasmus hit it in the water this week, I'm in on that one. I agree with you, Pavone. This is we're talking about without Pavone market this week. Number 1 in the model. And when that happened, I was like,
really?
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's kind of dumb. But then I thought about it. And I was like, yeah, he actually has played the best golf of anybody in this field. So he should be number 1 in the model. Like he's crushing it with the irons and the putting. He played good at Sony. The only question with him is he took a couple weeks off. Like, does his heater continue?
That was weird.
But like on paper, it all makes sense. I like Sepp this week. I think it's a great bounce. 45-1 on Sepp. Like that's a good bet in my book. He is throwing people off the scent with those 3 poor not bad performances. He just putted terrible on the West Coast. And like, you literally cannot hold that against Sepp in any way, shape or form. Yeah. For me, least likely to win is going to be Minwoo flowchart. For people who don't know the Minwoo flowchart, it's again, pretty simple. There's one question you ask yourself. Is this a links course? If the answer is yes, Minwoo can win the tournament and you bet Minwoo. If it is not a links course, you say no and you don't bet Minwoo. He can play fine. That's the weird thing about Minwoo. He's got that player's performance was pretty good. He was fine here last year because he can club down. He'll hit that 2-iron. He'll get that 2-iron pumping through the wind. But Minwoo flowchart week, it's not for me.
Yeah, I agree. And I think we're both aligned on Sepp this week because his last performances here were really good. I think it was a win in the T5. Is that correct? Or a win in the T4?
Yeah, Sepp. Yeah, he.
And both of those performances, he came in losing strokes on approach in his last few starts, or losing strokes ball striking in total. So clearly, the West Coast is not for Sepp. Comes back to where he feels comfortable. He's a Georgia Bulldog, similar grasses, similar part of the country. Sepp fucks in Florida. Kind of, I guess, luck sacked his way into that win 2 years ago, but he won. So, yeah, and he played great last year. So, I think I'm down for Sepp. Like, he's a winner. He's got guts. Like, you don't just shoot nearly 59 on Sunday to win without guts.
No, and before the West Coast, he finished second at the Hero at T12 at Century. So like everywhere he's been playing, and before that was a T14 at the Tour Championship. Like anytime he's on Bermuda, he plays great. He's as likely. I don't know why he's 45-1. So yeah, I'll give Sepp a serious consideration this week. Connors, what's the deal with Connors?
I legitimately like. I don't think I wrote him up in our for you because I might have just missed him on the thing. But Connors is I think is a great play. Fairway green 2-putt, avoid the water, but he's not playing great.
He T59 and cut here historically. My thing with Connors is he's not a serious golfer. Like maybe he does practice. If anybody, like, no offense, Corey, if you're listening, like, let me know if you practice your putting and your chipping, because how has he not improved his putting and chipping in any way, shape, or form? Like, he knows all he has to do is improve that a tiny bit, and he's winning all the time on the PGA Tour, and it's the worst that it's ever been. So, like, I can't.
Yeah, it's bad.
It's horrible.
It is bad. Maybe that's why I didn't see him, because he's just an unserious golfer. But yeah, Corey Connors, I don't hate him just because of the driving accuracy prowess and iron play he presents, but everyone's going to be missing greens here. Everyone's going to have to make those 6 to 10 foot par putts. Do not trust Corey Connors to do that.
Always the question. I think the question every single time that they play, they're basically the same golfer, except one is a winner and one is a loser. JT Poston versus Eric Cole this week. Head-to-head matchup. They're both 30-1. Who do you like?
Like, I probably would say JT Poston, but Eric Cole will win that matchup in the most non-competitive, gutless fashion. Just a backdoor T9 that he's never one time in the mix. Legitimately, like, everyone loves Eric Cole. And I don't have any reason to not like him, but he has mixed one time in his entire career, and it was here. So he plays consistent. I'm just going to have to go with Poston just because I have to take my stand against Eric Cole.
Yeah, we talked about Eric Cole yesterday, and he came out of nowhere to mix in this event last year. I think there were some people like deep in the mini tour game who knew about him before this tournament last year. And he gained 8 putting, and he had a simple up and down to win the tournament. All he had to do was get the ball up and down. Chris Kirk slinged it into the water. It was over. He just had to get up and down and he wins. He does not do that. And he has never actually mixed ever again. Like, you can look and see his, he was T5 at Mexico, 4th at Fortinet, T3, T2, T3 in the fall. He wasn't even close to winning any of those tournaments. I had him at RSM. I think he was second to Ludwig going into the final round. He shot like 100 in the final round. I think he beats Posty this week just because Posty's course history here kind of sucks. Posty's playing great golf, but I'll go in the matchup with Cole. But yeah, he has no, like, he has shown an inability to close the door in tournaments. And I don't think this is a course where I want a guy who's shown an ability to, and this goes back to what we talked about last week with a guy like Griot. And I think it came true with Griot. I don't like a guy who gained 8 putting the year before the next year, because Cole's a good putter. Like, he could gain 8 putting again. He does gain 8 putting. Like, that's something he does, but give me somebody who gained 8 ball striking last year versus a guy who gained 8 putting.
Yeah, that putt that Eric Cole made on number 5 or 6 on Sunday to make birdie, it was like a triple breaker from 80 feet down a hill, and he sunk it. It would have gone minimum 20 feet by the hole. Hit the flag, went in. I was sweating that Kirk bet in person. I was shocked. And then on the next hole, he went into the water on the par 4 coming back up, and he made like a 12-foot par bogey save or something like that. Like, what the fuck, this guy? And then he's there in the playoff. I was very tilted that last year.
Yeah, if your guy can make it's 6 is that tough par 4, right? With the water down the left. Yeah,
down the left. So yeah, it was 5 to par 3.
When your guy goes and you're tracking in the app and he plays 6, if you can get a par on 6, you're in. I like that. That's a sign of good things to come. The next matchup for you, this is a matchup of defending champions from the last 2 years. Chris Kirk and Daniel Berger, who of course won this tournament in 2021 almost, and then completely mailed it in the final round. But we'll give that win to Berger. So defending champions, Berger against Kirk. They're both 40-1 somehow, which somehow Berger's 9,200 on DraftKings. Like, I like Berger. I think he's played fine so far in his comeback this year. But Chris Kirk just won the Century. I'll take Kirk in the Kirk Berger matchup. But what are you thinking?
Yeah, that Berger 2022 18-1. one of my toughest beats, 6-shot lead going into the final round. And it was almost like the golf gods knew it was happening, because as soon as it was all said and done, the skies opened up. I got absolutely drenched and lost that bet. But I will go with Berger in this matchup.
Wow.
Berger has been playing solid golf out of the gates in 2024. He's honestly made some decent gains in the ball striking and approach categories.
Yeah,
he hasn't chipped or putt well. It hasn't chipped or putt great, but he's back on a surface that he's super comfortable with, lives in Jupiter, and I don't trust him to be balls to the wall for 72 holes because he's still getting his feet wet, but there's not many more courses where Daniel Berger is more comfortable on than PGA National. And Chris Kirk I know we talked about this, has lost in the ball striking categories of late. I know he won, but he was in objectively better ball striking form within the last month leading up to his win last year than he is this year. But he is a winner and has great course history. But I will go with Berger.
Yeah, he back-to-back fourth place finishes, second here on debut in 2015. Now that I look at it a little bit closer, yeah, I do see definitely a Berger where the ball striking's been good. His short game was terrible out west, but that's not Berger's game by any stretch of the imagination. I think it's one of those two where does he get back on Bermuda and does that short game improve? Probably. Almost certainly. But at the same time, there's also probably just some rust in that short game as well. 100%. Like he would gain short game even on like West Coast courses before. So I think there's some rust in there. So I don't know. That's a tough one. I think Kirk. This is also a course where Kirk just shows up and it doesn't really matter what he's been doing.
Right.
So I think that's an interesting matchup, the Kirk versus Berger. Kirk's gone T25, T7 win here. And yeah, he lost approach at Genesis, but like I like longer iron courses. That's not Chris's game. And he gained a shit ton ball striking at Sony.
At Sony. That might have been the best of his career, I think. That was like his that was nuts.
I definitely think he could just show back up at he'll be in the mix. Kirk's mixing. I like back-to-back might be in play. I'm going to give it I love to bet a back-to-back. I haven't done it yet this year. He goes from 30-1 last year to 40-1 this year. I don't know. It's interesting. Luke List, I saw you wrote him up a little bit too. Luke List, now a good putter. He apparently makes putts. And it wasn't just Torrey or West Coast where he was making putts because Sanderson he made putts. He's just been putting better in general. He's played well here before. If distance is a little bit more important this year than it was historically, I like Luke List. Then a guy who I didn't even know was playing until a few minutes ago, Justin Rose. Why is Justin Rose playing this tournament? What's going on with that? He doesn't usually play here, does he?
He's played here a few times, I think, but he's got a few top fives. But he's played here 10 times. I think he has multiple top fives.
He played like every year from 2004 to 2015, and then he played in 2020. But yeah, he used to be great here. Third T5, T4, back to back to back.
Yeah, it's a course that makes sense for him. Not overly long, can lean into solid iron play, but the game is not there at the moment. He's lost a ton over his last few starts in 2024. So I'm not really seeing the Rose win or solid play this week. He was playing much better at around this time last year when he won Pebble. So I'm going to take a backseat to Rose for sure.
All right, hypothetical 3-ball time. I think there's some good ones here. That like you get over 60-1. There's a lot of interesting names that I think will be in the conversation here. So yeah, let's do Akshay, Noren, and Seabez.
That's a great one.
Hypothetical 3-ball. All of them about 70-1 right now.
I'll probably go with Noren. Like Noren's only playing golf courses right now that he like feels like I feel like he can contend on, and he knows that. And this is a golf course where you have to grind. You just have to like have that war mentality, war of attrition, steady pars, steady grind. And Noren gives you that. He's got great finishes here too, like multiple top fives. And like Seabez, I've said Seabez at PGA National the last 2 years, but he's just so like, come on, what are we doing? It's fucking Seabez at Devo. But I do like Seabez. Akshay, we're by the water. I feel like a few loose driver swings could scare me. Great question on S3 ball. This is a really good matchup. I will go with Noren just because I think he's going to be more consistent over 72 holes.
Ricky has absolutely no chance, right? Ricky probably
negative.
Yeah, no chance.
What are his
odds? 70-1. But he was
That's
like 100.
Insane, dude.
He was like 150 a couple weeks ago. He's just like
at the Genesis though. This is like
he's a winner here.
I might bet Ricky. I bet Ricky here 2 years ago.
If we could summarize this pod, it's you saying Ricky has a negative chance, and then like 10 seconds later saying that you're thinking about betting it.
I bet Ricky here 2 years ago, and you know who else I bet here that had no chance to win? Matt Wolf. Two of my worst bets ever. But I had Berger, so it's all right.
Wolf's playing good. He, I think he played well in that Oman tournament this week or something. He did. I was after he played well at Live Vegas. So
Live Vegas. Three-peat on Live this week for you?
Oh yeah, we'll talk Live here in a second. We're going to three-peat for sure. Okay, here's another one. Dietrich coming off almost a last place finish at Mexico. Pendy, who disappointed everybody at Mexico. And I think Rio disappointed people at Mexico too. So we've got 3 guys who all disappointed, all kind of the same driver putter combinations. Rio is accuracy over distance, but still driver and putter is his strengths. Which one of these guys is most set up for the bounce back? They're all about 90 to 1.
It's definitely got to be Grillo for me. He's just an overall better ball striker than
Rio. He's at Sune.
Oh, I thought
Rio's not playing.
I was like, Rio's not playing, right? Yeah.
No,
okay.
Rio's not playing.
Rio. Oh, this is a great course for Rio. It's very similar to what we saw in France.
Yep, that's what I
was.
You
agree?
Yeah. Strokes gained. Strokes gained? Is there a lot of water on the tee shots and approaches? 100%. Yep. I think the winning score was like -14 too at that Kazoo Open
on
France.
Smith.
It was -14. Yeah, Jordan Smith, terrible beat. Rasmus was 4th there, so maybe that's a positive sign for Rasmus. Thor, our boy, T10. But yeah, Rio, last week was not a course for Rio. I saw people talking up Rio last week. Too long.
I saw that too.
Too long for Rio. And short game doesn't matter there. And like Rio, he's not going to win. He was T30.
On the sea.
He might be. We'll see. I do not want to miss Rio's first one. That's for sure. Shank and Hubbard both high in the model this week. One of them always bound to pop. Shank hasn't popped in so long that it's bound to happen soon. Shank is going to mix, and these scoring conditions, you like Shank when like -14 can win.
Oh, 100%. And this is almost identical form to coming into Valspar last year. So he wasn't doing anything crazy before Valspar. A few made cuts, a few missed cuts, a few gains, a few losses. But this is a course that Adam Schenk, I feel like, can pop on. I guess he's done it in this part of the country before at Valspar. I'm worried. I could have been hearing this wrong, but they talked about an injury for Schenk at Pebble. And he hasn't really, like a wrist injury or something. It was the day he was playing in the group with Rory. And then he went out. It was Rory, Xander, Schenk. And then he went out and smoked him. He went out and smoked him. So maybe that was bullshit. I faded him and lost a lot of money on that. But he hasn't played great since they said that. So what are his odds? And like a 90?
Yeah, 90.
If you have any thoughts about Poston, bet Schenk, because they are very similar golfers, in my opinion, and can pop with the same golf courses. And you're getting double the odds.
I would, yeah. And a guy I'd just bet instead of any of them, Lucas Glover. I still think it's Glover's season. Like, the ball striking's still there. He's played well here before. It's back to if Glover can putt, he can win. He's been struggling with the putter, but he won at Wyndham. He won at St. Jude. If you can win at those courses, you can win here. 100 to 1 Lucas Glover. He's going to be under consideration for sure. Which hypothetical 3-ball here between 3 Europeans. Well, technically one of them's not Ryan Fox, but Sammy, Fox, Bobby Mack. Which DP World Tour star are you riding with this week?
It's got to be Bobby Mack, because you were on him last week. He popped at the right time, because even before that pop, PGA National makes sense for Bob Mack. Tougher conditions, ball striking heavy, putter, whatever. I know you got a game with the putter, but just like the fairway green has some distance to him. Well, this is a Bob Mack course, in my opinion, for sure. So I don't have to go with Bob Mack, and he's played well. He's played everything great except for the putting. He's basically Scotty Scheffler now that we're saying this. So yeah, Bob Mack in that 3-ball.
Yeah, Bob Mack's stats are nice. That's why I liked him last week, because it was a course obviously where like distance and tee to green would help you. He gained putting at Sony. That's the only time he's gained anything putting this year. He has been driving it long and straight. We know these are conditions that Bobby Mack can play well in. His win at the Italian Open came at -14, and he beat Matt Fitz in a playoff. And if Fitz is going to be popular this week, so why not Bobby Mack? So yeah, Bobby Mack officially under strong consideration for the card this week. Justin Suh, I'm sure you're going to be giving Suh a look, right? Or are you done with Sutton?
Dude, were you on him last week as well?
I almost was until the last second, then I pulled off.
Very, very pathetic performance at a golf course that made sense for him, in my opinion. But he's coming back to a golf course that he finished top 5 at last year. The iron play it's odd. He's had weeks where he's gained 3, and he's had weeks where he's like lost infinity. So I guess that's a good thing in the outright market. Very volatile, and I still think he is a high-end golfer with a high-end ceiling. I don't think this is the best golf course for him, even though he did finish T5 last year, but he hit the ball well. He's more of a driver putter guy, in my opinion. But that could work here. It really can if you're driving it in the fairways and then have to scramble. So I don't think he's under consideration because I bet this guy so much over the last few months. And like Zozo, he gave me a great sweat. And then a few weeks after that, he gave me another good sweat. But I don't think I can do it again now that I probably am off him. He'll finish like T3 and like maybe win or something. I'm going to have to think about it some more.
Brendan Todd or Billy Ho?
Brendan Todd, even though he's not really hitting the ball that great and doesn't have the best course history, not sure how we can trust Billy Ho.
Although, Billy Ho, though, when Billy Ho, yeah, I mean, the Florida swing is more important to him than the majors, than really anything in his life. Like, and I listened to the pod on NLU after Phoenix, after he got pissed. They had him on there, and he's kind of confident. So keep your eyes on Billy Ho. A guy that I wanted to quickly touch on, he's down here. He's 200 to 1. I think he might have been 300 to 1. He was 300 to 1. So the best prices are behind us. CT Pawn, when he's hot, he's hot. When he's not, he's not. But he was T3 last week. He has been great here. T16, T3, really? T17 at Honda. You ride him when he's hot. We know he won. Was it RBC? He won at Hilton Head. Yeah. So yes. That's a great comp. Went to the University of Washington. We obviously love that. I once hit balls next to him on the UW driving range. So keep your eyes peeled. Last year, he went 4th T3 in back-to-back starts. Like when CT gets it going, he gets it going. He's either going to miss the cut or finish top 10. So I would not like him in like DFS or anything like that. But for like a placement at long odds, CT Pond, keep your eyes peeled. And then a guy who fits this course, who is a terrible golfer, Alexander Bjork. You gonna have your eyes on Bjork this week?
If he can hit the fairways, he will make some noise, whether that's in the first round or down the stretch. It's all about the fairways, and I wrote this up. Some of the courses he's played, they've been longer courses. He's probably stretched out really hard to hit those drivers, really trying to hit it harder. And I had the same take about Cam Smith at some point in his career. When longer courses where driving accuracy is still important, like total driving and stuff like that, Cam Smith kind of struggled on. But courses where it's a little bit shorter, you don't have to hit that 320 drive. You could just hit your 270 ball, whatever, and then lean on your iron play. So I like Bjork at a spot like this. Really quick, back to CT Pan. He's got Fluff Cowan on the bag, former caddy of Jim Furyk. Jim Furyk has like 5 T5s here or 5 T10s. Just a nugget.
Put that one in your models, folks. That is a good point. But yeah, Bjork. A lot of people have compared him to Cam Smith, so look out for him winning the Open this year. And the players like this guy. There you go. That's a clip it and post it comparison. Alexander Bjork and Cam Smith, but honestly, they do kind of the same things. Doug Gim, by the way, he keep your eyes out on Gim. He's getting warmed up for the players, so he's going to be contending here again. One more guy. You got to talk about him anytime that we're hitting shorter irons and we're playing on Bermuda. Ben Griffin. He's not going to win because he can't win, but you have to always check the odds on Ben Griffin in conditions. You're
gonna get 100+, even though his form hasn't been good. The odds are great at a course that he's played well on historically. Or style, of course, at least.
Yeah, I think I bet him here last year. Yeah, T21 here last year, doing almost everything with the putter, which is what he's going to do. That's his game. So that's the Cognizant Classic. Jersey boots on the ground tomorrow. He's going to let us know some insights. He's going to let us know who's swinging it nice. So be on the lookout for that. And then, yeah, we have Liv back this week. Liv Jeddah, I believe, 3rd straight year. Yeah, and there you go.
Honda last year.
The man wears the same outfit every day. The Lord Abbott polo. He always looks great. I love when he makes his putts, the little waves that he does. One of the better guys to watch on the PGA Tour, Ben Griffin. So yeah, have him under consideration. But Liv Jeddah, Brooks Koepka, this is his course. Peter Yu, this is also his course. I haven't done much research at all in this tournament. I do plan on hitting a third straight winner on Live. It's the only tour I can hit winners on this year, but you know, I'm not going to complain about that. Most of these guys, a lot of them just played in Oman, which I would think the Oman setup has got to be somewhat similar to the Saudi Arabia setup. We're in the desert, right?
Yeah, Ortiz won that event. But you mentioned it was Brooks' course, Pete Yu's course. You know who else? You know whose course it actually is? Sadly, because he just won last week. Dustin Johnson. They played the Saudi International here since 2019. He's got 2 wins and a T2. So DJ back to back maybe, but I know we'll get there and I'll let you give your case. But I do have the winner here, and sadly, you're not gonna like it.
Actually, since I've done no research, just give me the winner, and maybe I will like it.
Yeah, you're not gonna like it. It's not pretty. The winner is going to be Jon Rahm this week at 5.5 to 1. He's one of 2 golfers to be in the top 5 in both greens and regulation and birdie or better on the Live Tour so far. It's going to be important this week, obviously, as it is every single week on Live. But Jon Rahm nearly won 2 straight weeks shanking balls. That will come back down to earth. He's still got that drive in him. And we're heading to a golf course that Brooks and Dustin have dominated. That's right up Rahm's alley, even though he's not played there. So it's inevitable. I don't do this every week, but a 5 to 1 bet is going to win on Live this week.
To be fair, he's been like 350, so you are getting some value there relative to what his odds were first few starts. I'm considering going back to the well on Jocko, because he's played well here before as well.
He's the other player in that one of 2 players I mentioned.
Oh, well, there you go. And he was just 3rd last week in Oman. He's flying high now that he's got his Masters invitation. So that could go either way. He could stop caring. But I think he looks motivated. He just played last week. That'd be my only concern with Rahm is like Rahm hasn't. I mean, who knows what Rahm's been up to? He's been doing interviews, hanging out.
YouTube golf.
Sergio, there's actually Sergio's played well here. There's a reasonable amount of Mayakoba overlap with these leaderboards. So yeah, we'll be talking Live and Discord. We'll have the picks up on the site. But yeah, my early lean when I just was thinking about this tournament was why couldn't Jocko win again? Have you seen the odds? Do we know what his odds are?
I only looked at Rahm. I think he's around 14 or 16, something like that. But he was literally the other guy in that category. So yeah, I definitely would agree with you.
All right. Yeah, we'll check that out. Yeah, I'd love it. At 12, I'm afraid he'll be 12. If he's 12, then I'm probably out. But if he's 14, I might be in. And I assume Brooks is like 6 to 1 or something, 7 to 1, something crazy like that.
Yeah, Brooks has got to be up there because he's trying to be the first 4-time winner on Live and the first 3-time defending champion.
Yep. And if you I've talked about this. Brooks, I think last I checked was 19 to 1 on FanDuel for the Masters. Brooks is my pick to win the Masters. I'm keeping it simple this year. I'm not going to overthink it. I'm starting to put a little bit on when I see the odds go up because if he wins Jeddah this week, which he easily could, then I think his major odds go back down. So if you like Brooks, this is probably a good time to get some exposure to Brooks at Augusta. Yeah, parlay it. And I think that and speaking of parlays, parlay your bet with the team winner on Live. That's an easy one to do. That's actually probably the best way to play Rahm is to parlay Rahm with
13, yeah.
Rahm with Legion 13. But
I'll do that.
What was I going to say? Oh, I was just going to say, with all of these guys not winning on the PGA Tour, the Scotties, the Xanders, the Cantlays, but why wouldn't we just Brooks 19 to 1 at the Masters? He's more he's as likely to win the tournament as anybody. I just don't see it doesn't make sense. Why not Brooks?
Yeah, and they're playing 2 events leading up to the Masters. So
and that's why Brooks only wins majors when he plays the week before. All 5 of his major wins have come when he played the week before the tournament. So yeah, I'm going to start sprinkling Brooks as we get closer to the Masters here. But Matt, appreciate it. Any closing thoughts? Anything else we need to know about the Palm Beaches? Give me one unknown fact, not about the course necessarily, but just about the area that you just know because it's your home neck of the woods. What's something people wouldn't know?
Basically, if you looked at me right on this podcast, I look like I don't belong in the Palm Beaches. It is just above all of our pay grades.
Okay. There you go.
That's the fun fact.
Just out there. Well, that's how Manhattan's the same way. So that's that's where I'm at. So and if you fake it till you make it type of thing. So appreciate you hopping on. Also, basketball pick for tonight. I'm on TCU against Baylor. I think they defend the home court. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, that is I can see both ways happening. One pick today. NC Central is my pick. So
what conference is NC Central in?
The MEAC.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we got conference tournament season coming up. Jersey and I might be doing some basketball stuff. We got to figure it out. But with this next month is as good as it gets for college hoops. So be on the lookout for that. Vincerix Golf, Vincerix_golf on Twitter. I'm getting that going. We're going to be tweeting stuff out from there going forward. There's also obviously Vincerix_hoops. Follow us there. Like and subscribe. Get to golf.vincerix.com to check out the odds and the model. And then vincerix.com for the write-ups and more in-depth model. Thanks, Jers. And I appreciate everybody for listening.
Peace out.